Hello, this is Teens Talk Politics, and today I am joined again by my co host Sam. And today, this is a Labor Day weekend special, so this will be coming out Monday on Labor Day. This will be recorded the day before, just to let you know, just if anything happens in terms related to Labor Day, we will not be covering that, obviously, because we're doing it a day before. Anyways, I think the main thing we're going to be talking about related to labor is the unemployment, and I think that's a major topic to be talking about because of the very high unemployment rate at the moment. Since the pandemic, it's rose by a very significant amount, and it's a lot higher than usual. Normally, be what 2%, 2 or 3%, and that would be even on the high end. And now it's creeping up in the 7%. Right now, it is 7.6% nationwide, and that is very, very high compared to what it should be and on a normal year. And of course, this is not normal times. However, we should be getting back to normal. However, we're going to be talking about why people aren't returning to work and what some people think is the reason that's actually not the reason. So, anyways, we're going to first be talking about how unemployment benefits, which is the thing we're talking about, that a lot of people actually believe that is the main reason for people not returning to work. It's because they get these unemployment benefits that are paying them to be unemployed. And this just simply isn't true. That is not the reason. When states are losing their unemployment benefits, that's happened several times in the past couple of weeks. About 2 dozen states are lost it on September 4th, September 3rd, 3rd or 4th, and no jobs were filled at a significant rate as expected. So we know that wasn't the reason why. And we'll get into that in just a minute. But Sam, what do you think about these unemployment benefits being lost for millions?
Yeah, I mean, and it's absurd because as we all know, still people are recovering from the pandemic, whether or not they have the vaccine and are eligible to work. People are still recovering financially and like emotionally from the pandemic. Some people might not be in the space to work, as we were saying. We had some people have children that they've got to take care of and homeschool and just making sure everything's going okay, and they don't really have the time to work. And cutting these benefits does makes it just even harder for these especially women who are trying to keep their family afloat by um, just by making sure everything's okay. And you can't just cut, like, especially for these 24 or so states that did cut these benefits. It's like you can't just do that and then expect good things to happen from that. Like, you gotta put your mind into the setting of these like early moms who are just trying to keep their family alive, and then cutting these benefits, they're not going to go back to work because there's still more important things to do about it. You're just making both ends harder for them, and in some ways harder for yourself because you're not getting those taxes, making revenue less for your state, and it's going to turn into a downward spiral if you don't start to fix it. And so I feel like these states have a lot to learn from this. And so yeah.
Is that since people are getting less money in their hands, yes, this could technically increase the national debt because we are losing trillions in unemployment benefits. That has happened because how many were there? Two, I think, just four.
Well, I'll check.
It was like two or three. Four seems high, but
About stimulus checks.
the stimulus package, and there were trillions of dollars worth of that, and of course, it's going to expand the national debt. However, I think because people are not working, and the main reason that people have found for at least mothers is because they're juggling their jobs, providing childcare, homeschooling their children, and especially when public schools were shut down. So there still are few now. However, I think for the most part, almost all of them have reopened to have an option to be going back in person. But between all of that, some people are just dropping out of the workforce and just taking care of their kids. And I think for people to say, "Oh, the only reason they're not working is because of these unemployment benefits," it
Yeah.
just it just simply is not true.
Yeah. No. First of all, there were three. You were correct. There was three unemployment benefit stimulus packages. People can't. Number one, people can't make a living amount of money off of just like less than $2,000 every time there's a stimulus check. So it makes no sense your argument. They're not going to be like, oh, I want to live comfortably with $1,400 every couple months. I mean, obviously, there's going to be other sources of income, but you're not going to be able to live comfortably on that. And cutting that is going to make you live even more uncomfortably, especially for everyone involved. These families, again, aren't getting what they want, and the government isn't going to get their taxes. And obviously, recently we have been losing, as you were saying, a lot of money to stimulus checks. But the goal is to reinvest it in the nation's economy to get it jump started again. So this is a similar way of what we were talking about to, I believe, after the Great Recession, Obama, and um, after the Great Depression, both Obama and FDR issued economic plans to restart the economy, and especially with Biden's um, infrastructure bill, this is happening again. But the difference is this time people actually, like, of instead of having a shortage of job openings, they're having a shortage of people who are able to work, which is really new because after the pandemic is over and after people are getting vaccines, uh, still, as we were saying, these moms weren't able to work, and also, like, and the reason there's these so many gaps is because after everyone was laid off at the beginning of the pandemic, those when those jobs start coming back, there's bountifuls of them, and so people are going to want to take the better job, not just this low salary McDonald's employee. Obviously, I'm stereotyping. People are going to want to take a better job and actually want to get paid, especially after this giant financial crisis.
Yeah, and like you were mentioning, it's supposed to jumpstart the economy. And what we've seen is when people are losing these unemployment benefits, it's not helping the job growth. More, not necessarily more jobs are being filled. The economy just isn't doing as well as it was under these stimulus checks, where people had money and were spending money, and this is stimulating the economy, and that's kind of how it works, and that's been how it has worked in the past few months with these being brought out, right? Because it's supposed to stimulate the economy. And now that those are not active anymore, no one's getting money from the government for unemployment. Of course, the economy is going to, I guess, be stunt in its growth at this moment because people just don't have money to spend. And then the economy cannot continue to grow as it has over the past few months while the stimulus checks have been in fruition. And I think another reason that people are just not coming to work, which is we'll get into in just a minute, is I guess the treatment. Back in I don't remember what month, but Biden had a town hall in Ohio, and there was a question about how it was a audience member who had a fast food chain. I think it was a fast food chain, and they were talking about how they were understaffed. They couldn't find people to fill these jobs. Biden's answer basically was, "You're going to have to pay them more, and you're going to have to treat them better for them to return." Which makes sense. Of course, they didn't like that. They didn't like that answer. They thought Biden was going to get a straight out answer. Oh, we'll pass blah blah blah, and hopefully your problem will be solved.
Yeah, this isn't our problem. Like, this isn't the government's problem. It's your problem for the longest time not treating these employees well. And as soon as these jobs start to open back up after the pandemic, people are going to want the job that pays more money, especially to recover their family. They're not going to want to live some $7.25 an hour job, where they can barely make it above the poverty line while they're still struggling from using up all their savings for the pandemic. And it's just absurd that these minimum wage managers and not managers but store owners expect people to want to work for them if, number one, they're not going to give them the employee benefits, and just number two, they're not making enough money to recover from the pandemic.
Yeah, and a poll or a survey, more rather, that the Labor Research Center at the University of California, they did a survey for food service workers, and they said the main reason that they've either left work and are not planning to come back, or left work temporarily, assuming they're going to be coming back, is because their fear of catching COVID, which still makes sense. They've probably been vaccinated at this point, but we don't know. And there's still a large portion of the country not vaccinated. So that's one reason. Another reason is because of increased hostility and harassment from customers, often related to wearing masks, in addition to long running complaints of sexual harassment. And these are just small things. There are many things on top of this, but these are things that the workers are being treated in such a way, not being paid enough to have to go through these kind of things. And they just aren't in the mood to come back to be like, okay, I'm going to be treated like this and only getting paid minimum wage or only a little bit over minimum wage. So what Biden said is true. If you want your workers to come back, you're going to have to pay them more. So they're going to be more willing to come back. So you're not just offering them minimum wage, you're offering them, let's say they offer $15, which is what Biden wants to raise the minimum wage to. If you offer them that, maybe they would be more inclined to come back to work. Maybe they want to make that kind of money, not just make the minimum wage. So they might be looking for another job that has more money than just the minimum wage.
The government has supported you guys for long enough trying to keep your businesses afloat. Now it's your turn to show how you can treat your employees better in a capitalist environment. This is not the government's fault. It's yours for not keeping up with the market.
This is probably not what small businesses want to hear, but that's the only way they're going to stay afloat in this rocky environment that COVID has brought upon us.
Well, and the thing is a lot of the times it's not even small businesses either. It's a lot of the times it's these big fast food retail corporations that are benefiting from this too. And I'm obviously not saying that that small businesses aren't going to be affected by this, but it like either way, you're expected to pay your customers. You can't make the argument that small businesses are going to struggle when these small businesses, these people who work for these small businesses still need to make their money. Don't argue for the fact that small businesses, when these actual workers, the people who work for these small businesses, aren't going to get enough money.
I think the difference is that these major corporations, they can afford to spend some extra dollars, which it's going to be a little more than an extra dollar, but it's going to be several $1,000s, if not more, depending on the size of the business and how many workers you're paying. But they can afford to pay their workers more. These small businesses, the reason I emphasize small businesses is sometimes they can't afford it. So they're going to have to set aside more money from their the money they've raised or they've gotten from investors to pay their workers. They can't just rely on the $7.25 because then they won't get any workers that are willing to work for this company. They might have to raise it to 10, 12, 13, $15, and maybe workers would be inclined to come work for this business to be able to work for money that they can afford to raise a family and not be under that poverty line. So I think amount of money and then treatment are the main, basically the foundation of why people are not coming back to work and looking for jobs elsewhere, whether it's outside the country or in just other wings, whether it's not just fast food or grocery or other big businesses like that. They're going to, okay, I'm going to go to the university, I'm going to get a student loan, and I'm going to find somewhere else that pays more than minimum wage. So then you have these lower end jobs that just aren't being filled because no one wants to fill them if you're only going to be paid minimum wage, and then you're going to be under that poverty line. So I think this is a really big thing that these small businesses are going to have to look at. Are we going to spend more money on getting people to work for us so we're not just paying the minimum wage? Or are we going to continue blaming it on the stimulus check, saying, oh, the government is the reason I can't get any staff members? Because they're getting paid by the government, which isn't even true anymore because the employment benefits are over. However, I think they need to step up and be like, okay, we're going to have to spend more money on this. We can't just continue to blame it on the government when there's no evidence that's the reason. There's no evidence that once the unemployment benefits have been gone and that they're no longer getting money from the government on a monthly basis, that they return to work with the exact same work conditions that they did before they left work and the exact same pay they had before they left work. So they're just going to have to look at, okay, we're going to have to increase COVID precautions. That is one reason that this survey done by University of California Research Center, it's COVID-19. They need to increase precautions and just restrictions on COVID-19. And then they need to work on hostility and harassment from customers, often related to wearing masks. So I think getting higher vaccination rates so COVID won't be an issue. And also it will help with the complaints with wearing masks. So I think everyone really can play a part, get vaccinated, and this solves a lot of issues. If we hit herd immunity and COVID's over, that solves a lot of issues. That gets rid of the entire wing of, oh, I'm afraid of getting COVID, and also a lot of the hostility from customers from relating to wearing masks. Just get vaccinated and these things can end. We can return to normal. People can return to work, not worrying about COVID. Yes, that's not the only reason people don't want to return to work. However, that's a major, major issue. And if people just get vaccinated, this can be all over. People can not continue to blame the government for everything, which is what a lot of people like to do. It's not my fault, it's the government's fault. And actually get vaccinated so we can return to normal, so people can get jobs, so people can return to work, so the economy can continue to stimulate itself without having other stimulant packages to basically help the economy just not die. And we're going to really have to look at this. How long is it going to be taking until we get a herd immunity, right? What are we at? Like, you were talking about before we started recording, it was like 60% of people have gotten at least one dose. That will.
There's been a small vaccine increase, but in the United States alone, the United States, only 63% of the population. As of the date of recording, September 5th, only 63% of the population had. There's been a total of around 12 in the past month or so. There's been a total of around 12 to 15% increase, which is not that much, especially considering the start. But at least there's this new spike, and well, yeah. But people are returning, and they should.
And when people become vaccinated, people are going to return to work, like I said before. It all gets solved when COVID goes away. We will go back to normal. We can continue to increase job growth. And that's a big problem for the Biden administration at this point. They can't see major growth until COVID's over. They're going to be continuing to be basically in the dust of the Trump administration, trying to fix what they basically broke down. If it hadn't been for the response of the Trump administration, we probably wouldn't be where we are today. We probably would have a vaccine, yes. But do you think that the economy would have to shut down if we had to actually continue to have everything shut down? Not everything shut down anymore, but we would have been able to reopen a lot quicker than we had. And things like that would have just gone a lot smoother if the federal government had stepped in back in March of 2020. Even before then, February and January of 2020. So the Biden administration is going to look at this. What's the best way to get the vaccine rollout? And that's what they've done. Their main goal is to tackle COVID-19. And if we tackle COVID-19, lots of problems will be solved, including what we're talking about today with the unemployment. Like I said, this is not the only reason people are not returning to work, but this is such a big, major factor that's going to have to be solved. And this isn't going to go on forever. Yes, COVID is going to eventually die. Eventually, we'll return to normal.
Yep.
But the more people that get vaccinated, the quicker it's going to happen.
That's
true. So, Sam, do you have any lasting thoughts?
Yeah, just get vaccinated. No reason not to. And don't blame the workers.
And don't blame the federal government for all your problems. So anyways, thank you for watching. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for our normal upload schedule, because yes, this is a special for the Labor Day weekend. And anyways, thank you for watching. We'll see you guys on Tuesday.